Hey everybody, it's Coach Eric here, and I want to take you through some quick thoughts about scheduling. And I oftentimes go through this program as we're working on the new patient phone call, and we're taking that new patient call as we begin to schedule them. This is a big part of what we train on, to do this in an efficient way, but also to be in control of our schedule. Something that's really important is we're navigating things to the benefit of our practice, while at the same time we're navigating it to present a benefit to them, the caller, as well. But I want to be clear here that these scheduling strategies are not unique and isolated to the new patient phone call. This can be any time that we're taking a patient to our schedule. It might be as they check out and get ready for their next visit. It might be somebody calling in and asking about, what their next appointment might be. Whatever that is, I want to make sure that we're appreciating these scheduling strategies that, again, are going to just make us more effective, put us in control, be efficient, and really set us up to be successful. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So let's begin here, and this may not be completely relevant to every practice, but depending on what style of a dental practice you might be, you may need to do a little discovery as to what's the need of the appointment, what's the necessity. And you see a couple questions that are here to help you better schedule you. What are your specific appointment needs? Or what type of appointment may I help you schedule? And so, oftentimes we work with a dental practice, or we might be working with a periodontal practice, whatever the case might be. And the understanding of what type of appointment is important, so that we can schedule the appropriate amount of time and the right type of an appointment as well. So that's part of this new patient call process if needed. A lot of our orthodontic clients, that's not really a question we would encourage you asking, because you're really going to be placing them in the schedule no differently as a new patient consult. And so bypass this if necessary, but add this as a clarifying point if appropriate. All right, so to get to the stage where we can offer in some strategies and some ideas, I first want to set the stage by talking about some things that we do not want to do, some things to avoid. And the first one you see here is ask if they'd like to schedule an appointment. So it may sound something to the effect of, would you like to schedule an appointment to see the doctor? And you may laugh at that, but the reality is I hear it frequently, that we are navigating our way through the call, and then all of a sudden our receptionist says, so would you like to schedule an appointment to see the doctor? And let's just eliminate that. We need to be definitely more assumptive that, of course, they called to schedule an appointment with us. So, of course, let's immediately move our way into the scheduling process. And so to be more assumptive, it might sound more like, well, let's go ahead and get you scheduled for your appointment, right? Making more that suggestion rather than asking this. Now, the other thing about a question like this that I want you to appreciate is this is a closed-ended question. This is yes or no. And generally speaking, we avoid closed-ended questions with a yes or no or a very short option of answers, because it's a quick way for us to lose control, and that's something that's valuable to us, is we want to be in control of the call. Let's not set ourselves up to lose control. I'll give you an example of that here again in just a second. Next item that we do not want to do is we don't want to ask them if they had a date or time in mind. I mean, talk about just giving control away of your schedule is to say something like, well, let's get Emma scheduled. Do you have a date or time in mind? And I mean, whatever they share back with you, the odds of that being good for your business and allowing you to control the narrative of your schedule, highly unlikely. All right, so let's not ask a question like that. And I know why you're doing it. You want to be accommodating to them, but there's better ways to do that. Right, so don't be so blatantly open-ended that we lose control right out of the gate. Next item we have here is do not attempt to schedule with a single date or time in mind. And I see this one probably more than anything else is we immediately come out and say, well, I could get you in as soon as Thursday. Does that work for you? Right? Or I could get you in tomorrow morning at 10:30. Would that time work for you? Again, so you hear the nature of the question, very closed-ended, kind of a yes or no, and too often the answer is going to be no, right? Because whatever that singular option is that you're throwing at them, the odds of it fitting their schedule are also very unlikely. And what happens is they say, no, that doesn't work, but what about? And the next thing you know is they're back to giving you all sorts of dates and times that work on their schedule, and you've lost control. So again, that being closed-ended on how we approach our question can lose control as they start to throw dates back at you. So let's not ask things in such a limited manner like this one. Now let's contrast that with this next do not scenario, and that is do not provide too many date and time combinations. I mean, so think about your receptionist who says, well, great, I have a 10 and a 2 o'clock available on Tuesday. I've got 8:30, 9:30, and 1 o'clock on Wednesday, or 4 o'clock on Friday. Whoa, I mean, talk about a little bit overwhelming and confusing. The reality is if you lay out those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options, they probably only remember the last one that you gave them. The first few, they're gone, right? So again, you're not in control of your schedule when you give too many things like this, and you're just creating a bit of a confusing situation. We'll look at some better alternatives here as well. Next one though, do not give them necessarily the most desirable times if they would take something else, right? So let's think about like my orthodontic practices. We all know your most sought after times of the day are usually early morning or end of the day, you know, working around kids' school schedules, something like that. Whatever your business model is, ask yourself, what are the highest demand times of your day that you might end up scheduling weeks out? Right? So rather than giving them those options, wouldn't it be awesome? You look at my example here, is instead of giving them the 8 and the 4, what if they would take the 10 or the 1:30? How nice would that be? Wouldn't that feel like a reward for you to look at that and go, man, I just got somebody onto my 10 o'clock and I was able to hold my 8 o'clock in my pocket because I know somewhere down the road that one's going to get filled by somebody. Right? So you want to be strategic about how you offer this. And I oftentimes see this, like if we're locking in on a specific time of the day. So we've already determined next Thursday is a good date. We look at Thursday, I see Thursday afternoon, and I've got a 1 o'clock, I've got a 2 o'clock, and I've got a 4 o'clock. Which one of those would we like to hold back and not necessarily offer right away? I'm sure you're saying the 4 o'clock, right? So we would say, well, I've got a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock available next Thursday, which is going to work best for you. And you're still giving them 2 options, which we're going to talk about that strategy here next. But if they'll latch on to one of those 1 or 2 o'clock options, that's a win for us that you should feel proud of. You'll get that 4 o'clock used soon enough. The benefits that we're looking to gain as we implement some strategies, what we're looking to gain here is better control. So I mentioned that. One of the key strategies of our patient phone call process is being in and maintaining control. And the scheduling process is no different. Right? We also want the caller to feel some level of control. Right? Now, we don't want to give them so much control to just say, what do you want? Right? But when we do these things with a couple options at a time, you're going to find that the caller still feels like they're in control of their schedule while you're managing and maintaining control of your schedule as well. And when you do that equally beneficial, that's creating a 5-star customer service arrangement, right? Both parties feeling great about what we just came to the conclusion of. That's what we're shooting for. So what are those strategies, the tips for success here? The first one is I want you to pair up your first available date with another date further out, right? We're going to work through a dual close process here, right? But when we give 2 dates, the first one should be your soonest available because, again, today's a Wednesday, and boy, wouldn't it be great if I got that Thursday appointment filled for tomorrow, or maybe it's my appointment coming first thing on Monday morning. I definitely want to leverage that one into my options, but then I want to make sure I give them another option to go with it. So we're going to say something like, well, great, at my first available, I do have availability tomorrow, or we could go out to next week where I have a Tuesday available. Which date would you prefer? Right? First available combined with another day. Okay, and we're going to work down this funnel. This is the dual close funnel. So the first layer of the funnel is what I just gave you, 2 dates. Right now, as we get, they say next Tuesday was a better option. Perfect. Next Tuesday, I do have morning and afternoons available. Which time of day would you prefer? Okay, we're going to start to narrow our focus down the funnel. They say afternoon would be better. I look at my options on Tuesday afternoon. Maybe I've got that 1, that 2, and that 4. Right? And I'm going to say, great, on Tuesday afternoon, I've got 1 and 2 o'clock available. Which of those times would you prefer? Okay, so we're just working our way down the funnel. Now I get, there's all sorts of nuances, and likely you may end up skipping over the time of day because by the time they said next Tuesday and you go out to Tuesday and you look at it and go, well, great, I've got an 8 o'clock or a 1 o'clock, and you might just, that might be the next layer of your dual close funnel. Right? But if we can narrow it down to times of the day and then ultimately down to specific times, that's the goal of how we're working down the funnel. right? But it works really, really well. It's very smooth. It's very consistent. It allows you to navigate your schedule. Okay, now, if the two options you gave them, you said tomorrow and you said next Tuesday, and they're like, I'm sorry, neither of those dates work for me, start the dual close over again. Don't just now back up and go, well, here's my next one, right? 'Cause that's what I see oftentimes. Tomorrow and Tuesday didn't work. Well, how about then Wednesday? I do have an availability of Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Feel how narrow it is again? And next thing you know, they're like, no, that doesn't work either, but, and they start rattling options off at you. Right, so start your dual close over. Go ahead and find that Wednesday. Go ahead and find another date to go with it and work your way down that funnel like we just talked about on the previous step. Okay, and then our last tip for success here is use customer service language and tone, right? We want this to be an invitation to partnership. You want to be talking to them in a tone that just says, you know, I'm working with you here. You know, I want you to be included in this decision. And I hope you notice how, as I've been doing just kind of these very short role plays, is I've been saying, which works best for you? Which would you prefer? So I'm laying out two options at a time and saying, which works best for you allows them the invitation now to choose, right? Perfect. I go to the next layer. Which one would you prefer? And again, they choose. Every time they answer your question, make sure you receive them with something positive. Perfect. Absolutely. That sounds great, right? Something that just responds to the choice that they've just made. So that sets us up. There's our tricks and our tips to success there. Let me do a quick role play for you just so you can kind of get the idea of this thing front to finish. And let me add in here also, a lot of practices have maybe multiple locations. You've got a call center, and so we're going to be answering on behalf of multiple locations. So your first dual close might be just that. Well, let's go ahead and get Emma scheduled. We do have two convenient locations. Which location would you prefer? Okay, whatever the option is. Great. In that location, my first available is this coming Monday. I've got a few options on Monday, or we could go further out into next week on Wednesday. Which date would you prefer? Okay, they say, yeah, the Wednesday looks better for me. Perfect. Thank you so much. On Wednesday, I do have some morning and afternoon time slots available. What time of day would you prefer? They say, yeah, thank you. Wednesday morning would be better. That sounds great. On Wednesday morning, I do have a 9:30 and a 10 o'clock. Which option would you prefer? Right, yeah, the 10 o'clock would be great. Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And now we're moving on with our call or whatever our scheduling arrangement is, right? But we just work our way down that funnel. Now, there's a lot of nuances of things that might happen in there that are going to alter how you go about it. But I hope you get the idea of these strategies are going to allow you to be successful, finding spots that are good for you to deliver a great patient experience, while at the same time, they're in enough control to feel like they're happy with the decision as well. All right, hope everybody enjoyed that. We'll look forward to chatting with you soon.